Nick, what's your smooth jazz voice? Can you open this with a smooth jazz, Nick?
Ooh, yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Rewatch, the show where we watch movies we loved in our youth and see if they're actually still any good. I'm Nick.
I'm Bret.
I am Sam.
And I am Ash.
Are you trying to do this mythical smooth jazz thing you're talking about?
Fucking smooth jazz. Come on.
That was very smooth jazz.
I believe you. Yeah. I can't do it because I've never heard the thing you're talking about.
I can't do it because I'm a robot. I don't do impressions.
We have no cultural reference. I don't know. I've never heard
back
this thing.
to our smooth jazz movie remix.
Is this? It sounds like you're doing NPR voice. Is that the
It's
same
pretty
thing?
much, yeah, it's pretty much NPR.
Okay.
But it's a little more sultry.
We're back
Yeah.
again. It's Wednesday evening. The sun is going down. People are driving home, and you, listener, are listening to Let's Rewatch.
Yeah, nailed it. See,
Okay,
that's because
there you
I
go.
put the smooth jazz station in the car.
You can start
You're welcome.
the episode with that.
You put the smooth jazz in Bret.
So this time we've decided we're not going to do a movie. We're going to do a TV episode from the hit show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The episode called The Gang Adopts an Adorable Orphan, starring Danny DeVito.
The gang adopts Matilda. Wait, no, what's the little French girl? What's her name?
Madeline.
Madeline.
I
Again,
just-
a cultural reference Nick has no.
Yeah, I'm like, I have no cultural references, including... So, yeah, we're watching Matilda, which I've never seen.
And
I have no cultural reference to Madeline or... The only thing I've known so far that we've been talking about here is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's my only reference flying hot into this thing.
And Danny
I'm kind of
DeVito.
bummed. I thought I had more internet pull than I do because I tried to influence the vote on this one. And man...
We did, and for those who don't know, we do a Twitter poll every time we're going to watch a movie so that
Not
you guys
every
choose.
time.
Well, we have been now.
But we've
a
got
new
plans
thing.
coming up in the future where
Way
we're
to
not
put
using
me on
it.
blast.
Boom!
Well-
Oh my God. The poll had the movie Blank Check in it, which Bret really wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Blank Check, a movie with 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. 11%.
That's low enough to be a really great movie.
No, it's not. Are you sure you're not confusing Blank Check with Richie Rich? Because Richie Rich is a better film.
Nope. Definitely
I
thinking
don't
of
know
Blank
that
Check.
you've seen either of those movies.
You haven't?
I don't think either of us has seen either of those movies.
I've seen both movies.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Richie Rich
So
is
there.
a bad movie. I don't know what you're
yeah.
talking about.
I mean, having seen neither of them, I
I'm-
would guess that Blank Check is a better movie.
I'm not saying that Richie Rich is a good movie. I'm just saying it's a better movie. And if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's about twice as high. It's like a 24%.
See, that's high enough to be a legitimately bad movie.
Well, this, I feel like we as a show should acknowledge something very important right now, which is kind of an influence to our DNA. The new Mystery Science Theater is back on the webs.
I love it.
And that's something I was kind of bracing myself. I was really excited about it. I wanted it to happen. I kind of assumed it wouldn't be as good. It's actually better, I think,
It's so good.
than any old Mystery Science Theater.
That's awesome.
I love the jokes.
Yeah, it feels like it's much more dense in the riffs, like more jokes per minute and really, really good on-point stuff. And this is going to sound completely bonkers, but I think the movies they're watching are better movies. and I don't think that's the goal. Like, clearly they're supposed to be bad movies. Not that I would really want to watch any of these movies, but like they're not painful to watch movies.
Maybe it's because they've already done all the like really bad ones. And they
Yeah,
were
they've
like
run
at
out
the
of bad
bottom
movies.
of the barrel of bad movies.
Like they've got a Mia Farrow, Rock Hudson movie in there. Like these are well-known actors of their time. It's not a great movie, but it's better.
Reptilicus was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that painful to watch.
Which they're kind of supposed to be.
This is painful.
I was watching a little bit of Giant Gila Monster, the old one. And it's like same sort of thing as Reptilicus, and it's like I'd rather watch Reptilicus.
Ooh, the studio I work for did the miniatures for the
Yeah.
Stupid buddy.
And
Oh.
yeah, I don't know how far you guys have gotten, but I saw some of their animations on some fun stuff.
I haven't
Sam
watched.
hasn't seen any of it.
I haven't. I'm a noob to Mystery
But you haven't
Science
seen
Theater.
any Mystery Science Theater?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
We'll go watch Monos, The Hands of Fate, right now.
Santa Claus versus the Martians.
Yeah.
Gamera.
And watch the actual movie, Mystery Science Theater, the movie, which
Okay.
is hard to find unless they put it on Netflix.
Netflix is weird. They don't even have full seasons. They've got like, it looks like a random box set of stuff.
Weird.
Yeah. So the movies on the poll were ultimately Matilda, Dragonheart,
Election
Election,
and Blank Check.
and Blank Check.
I was expecting like Dragonheart or Election to win, and I was
Dude.
really surprised.
I would have
Dragonheart.
by far preferred Dragonheart,
Yeah, I
but
kind of
I'm
thought
not
we were going to get
surprised it
Dragonheart.
lost.
I tried to sway. I will admit I tried to sway the poll, and your influence was a lot greater than mine because mine was like nothing. But I was like, "Hey guys, vote for Dragonheart because I've never seen it and I want to see it."
Aw.
And it
I
didn't
think we
work.
could just legitimately choose Dragonheart on our own
It would
for a
be
future
I've
episode.
never seen it, so
I think
Yeah.
we should.
Let's
And
just
they're
watch Dragonheart with
they're
Iffy.
coming out with another
Okay.
one soonish. 'Cause
oh
apparently they never stop making Dragon Hearts.
Yeah, they're like low budge direct to video.
oh no.
Yeah, like Starship Troopers. There's like
Yeah.
4 of those now.
Does Sean Connery do the voice every time?
No, no, he does
Wait,
not.
I thought it was Patrick Stewart.
Oh,
Nah, Sean Connery.
Damn it. Well,
I would believe either.
Yeah. But what ultimately won was Matilda. Do we know the margin on that?
10% of 40 votes, 4 people.
So Matilda won at 34%. Blank Check was 27%.
As like less.
So not
than-
even 10%. 7%.
So this was made in 1996, and I've never seen this movie. And it's kind of, in my mind, it's from this pantheon of Mara Willson movies. You know, for a while she was the cute kid in all the movies, Miracle on 34th Street and Mrs. Doubtfire, and then there was this. And so I've never seen this. And I kind of wish you had positioned this in a different way and said, there's a movie based on a Roald Dahl book directed by Danny DeVito. And that
Wait, he
I am fucking on board with. Yeah, he directed this.
You guys
so
didn't know he directed
excited.
this?
I didn't know he directed this.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I had actually forgotten how many movies he directed. Like there was a clip there in the late 90s where he did a bunch of stuff.
So you have your category for this. Is this a Nick movie?
what?
Like a
What is
Nickelodeon
that?
movie?
Oh. I
Oh,
thought you were
It's like-
blaming it on me.
it feels like it.
I don't think so.
Because that's where
don't
I
s-
put it. It's like Good Burger and what was that?
Harriet the
the Spy.
Spy.
This is
Yes.
like in that
No.
category for me.
I don't see DeVito directing a movie like that.
Dude, Good Burger should be in the running for this weekend.
I have
think-
never seen it.
I know that I like a Good Burger. So the first time you said Matilda, Nick, I've been hearing people say things they haven't been saying, and I thought you said McHilda, which was gonna
Like
be
a Scottish witch.
like a Brunhilde MacGyver.
Well, that's not what I
Kind
said.
of accurate.
McHilda.
Yeah, and that's like that could be this movie for all I know. And it's weird thinking of the Roald Dahl stories that we know, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, like always seem like fantastic worlds. And the little bit that I know of this movie, it always just kind of seemed like a story about a little kid. So I'm hoping it has more fantastic stuff that I know from Roald Dahl.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay.
I'm so excited for you. So it says it's a Sony Pictures movie, or the studio is Sony Pictures. It's a TriStar Pictures movie. So
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think it was Nickelodeon, but I
Nickelodeon.
totally feel like I remember it being on the Nickelodeon TV station, you know, as a kid for sure.
This must have been like, because I think it was like in the time when Nickelodeon was releasing a bunch of stuff, and this must have been like other studios trying to jump on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that vintage, but it's not not one of theirs.
It was. I think Harriet the Spy was the Nickelodeon one, wasn't it?
That one for sure was Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So our stars here are Mara Willson, Danny DeVito, and Rhea Perlman, from what I can tell from my research. And like we said, Mara Willson was that cute kid and all of the movies of that time period. And now she's kind of a podcasting regular. She's on Night Vale, I think, fairly regularly.
Oh,
Welcome to
really?
Night Vale. Yeah. And she's
awesome.
a writer, comedian of some sort. I don't really follow what she does. I've just heard her on some podcasts. Then we all, I think, know and love Danny DeVito.
Yes.
When I think of Danny DeVito, I feel like he's kind of bookended by two awesome TV shows. Like he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest first, but then there was Taxi in 1978, and now there's It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And in between those two awesome TV shows was this weird and fantastic movie career.
Yeah, I guess so.
What would you guys say is like your favorite DeVito movie? Because there's so many. Like I just wouldn't even want to try and list them.
I would have to look it up.
Yeah, start listing some of them because I could only think of a couple, and I know there's more.
Then while y'all are thinking, I'll come out of the gate and say that Batman Returns always kind of resonates with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like a better movie than I think most people usually remember. And he did this performance that was a combination of just like goofy, weird, awkward, but still kind of brilliant and emotional and grounded. It's just nobody could have played the Penguin other than Danny DeVito in 1990 whatever.
See, I very much wanted to put that movie on the podcast because
We could do it.
it's because it fits so well. Because the first one, everyone but me agrees is great, and then the last one, everyone agrees is either bad or ridiculously bad, so it's good.
What would you say is the last one?
Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that's right. Twins. He was in Twins.
Because there's so many vintages of Batman, it's hard to say where you end that.
Yeah, I think it was the three, like Jack Nicholson Batman, Dan DeVito Batman, and Arnold Schwarzenegger Batman. None of whom played Batman.
There were 4 movies there in that chunk. 2 directed by Tim Burton, 2 directed by Joel Schumacher.
Which one am I missing?
The Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Riddler, Harvey Two-Face.
Oh, yeah.
That was the other Schumacher.
Just thought I thought this was the same movie as that.
Yeah, one had Schwarzenegger and why am I forgetting her name as Poison Ivy?
Thurman.
Uma Thurman. Yeah.
I know my answer.
Okay.
It's Death to Smoochie for sure.
That's
Death to
very
Smoochie.
interesting.
I love that movie. I forgot he was in it. In fact, I was flipping through here and I was surprised. Like, I forgot he's in Austin Powers.
He directed
Goldmember.
Death to Smoochie.
Did
Wait,
he really?
he was in Men in Black?
Yeah,
Was
there's
he?
like all these movies I didn't remember that he was in. He was in.
And what I think is really gonzo is this movie, Matilda. The movie before it that DeVito directed was Hoffa.
You're right.
The
he
movie
did
after it is Death to Smoochie.
Oh man,
That's a weird selection of movies.
we really should watch Death to Smoochie because I fucking love that movie.
And
I
I
remember
know-
everybody loving it, and when I saw it, I was kind of bummed because it did not work for me at all.
oh man, I love it.
So mine
Love
is
it.
Big Fish. Totally.
I don't
forgot he
even
was in
remember
that.
what he did in Big
Yeah.
Fish.
I think he's like a werewolf.
you can't. You
Was
don't
he like
remember?
a carnival performer?
Yeah, he's a circus performer that like turns into a
Okay.
wolf or a dog or something at night. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one again too.
There's also his face was all over town for a little while because he was also doing like a Broadway show. Like
Yeah, I don't
this
know.
guy does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite Danny DeVito movie?
Man, I was gonna just go with the Batman, but I saw on this list that he was in a Space Jam as a voice. So Space Jam.
When I went to see Puppet Up, the Jim Henson puppet improv show, somebody kept throwing out Space Jam. Whenever they asked for a suggestion, this woman kept yelling Space Jam. It's ridiculous and annoying.
Is she,
like not a
is
theme.
she Griffin McElroy?
Oh, yeah, that dude loves Space Jam.
I would have said, honestly, I would have said Matilda is my favorite movie with him in it if I hadn't forgotten that he was in Death to Smoochie. Once I saw that, I was like, well, I love Death to Smoochie. But I do, like, out of his films, this is probably the most memorable performance of his I do remember.
Interesting.
I would say. I don't think I've seen, like, a lot of... Because, you know, like, in those other movies, he's not really, like, the main character as much as he... I mean, he's not the main character, but he plays a much bigger role in this film than he does in other films.
Yeah, I'm thinking where he's the lead, there's stuff like Twins and Throw Mama from the Train, but he's usually not the lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, our other star is Rhea Perlman, which is no surprise. I don't think they're still married, but...
No, they're not.
So Danny and Rhea were married at the time. I think she's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
She hasn't been in much that I recognize. Like, she's one of the best parts of Cheers, but I can't really think of anything else she's been in. And I looked through her IMDb list, and there's a lot of stuff, but nothing really that I click with. But I just remember her being great. So yeah, that's what we're up against here. I've never seen it. Ash, you've seen it. Mm-hmm. What about the rest of yous?
Yeah, I've seen this movie. I only remember one part of it, but it's enough of a memory to make me think that this whole movie is going to be, I'm not going to say really good, but probably pretty enjoyable.
Okay.
It's like a very, I mean, it's got that Danny DeVito dark humor, both in the actual stuff that happens and in the way it's filmed. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Does it feel like Roald Dahl?
I would say, yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Sam?
I really liked this movie growing up and all through college. I own it on DVD, but I have not seen it in close to 10-ish years. So I remember a lot about it. There is a lot of Roald Dahl weirdness, but it's really charming from what I remember.
That I can get on board with. So yeah, I'm kind of empty slate here. When I first heard this is a movie we're doing, I wasn't so excited. But then when I saw DeVito and Roald Dahl, I got more optimistic. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I'm actually surprised that you haven't seen it.
It falls in that area when you were too old to have watched it as a kid.
I think I was maybe slightly too old.
But you're also a boy, so that kind of pushes the scale a little bit differently. And
I don't think I've seen Miracle on 34th Street either.
Yeah.
These just weren't really my movies. So
I
what do you
remember
think?
It was like a pretty big movie when it came out, though, wasn't it?
Which one?
Matilda?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't, like, I don't feel like it was marketed as, like, a kid's film. It was, like, marketed as, like, a everybody's film sort of thing, you know? But, yeah, I remember absolutely loving this movie when I was a kid. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I can remember scenes clearly. Like, I don't want to say anything, give it away since you haven't seen it. But I watched the trailer just to, like, refresh my memory. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this and I remember that. And I remember loving a lot about this film. And, like, what you said, Bret, too, like, the way it's done is very quirky as well. You know, it's not just... Like, it's a quirky story, but it's also, like, the filmmaking is quirky and very unique. I'm surprised that, you know, DeVito hasn't directed more films because, like, I love this one and I love his style in Death to Smoochie.
Well, he's done, not a ton, but he's done a good amount. Throw Mama from the Train, War of the Roses, Hoffa. So he's got, you know, he just hasn't done anything in the past 10 years or so. Nothing big.
Right.
He's done small stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of where we are. I'm optimistic. I think it could be fun. So let's check out Matilda. Do we know, is it on Netflix?
It doesn't appear to, I don't think it's on Netflix. I think I just found it on iTunes.
On your standard rental outlets.
Yeah.
So you might want to pause the podcast, watch Matilda, and join us when you're done.
Reach out ahead. On the sail.
On my way. homeboy.
I will tell you to run.
Wait, is that part of the lyrics?
Kind of. That was fantastic.
I don't know.
So that was Amelie Babies. What did you guys think of Amelie Babies?
Oh yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I could see that. Yeah. Because she kind of looks like Amelie.
And she has this moment where she realizes she can punish bad people and make things good for good people.
Yeah.
So this movie, it feels like it was previously a different movie in which they added a child to all of the horror scenes that they filmed
So
to make it look like the kid was in charge of making all of these scary, horrifying things
Oh
happen.
yeah, like it could have been a
So-
scary movie.
so they shot Magnus and decided, well, we can't sell Magnus. Let's
Yeah.
turn it into Matilda.
Totally.
Yeah, this was like freaking Omen.
And like the doll is like coming out of the window and like
Yeah.
shaking in the tree
On
branches.
the doll watch.
It's great.
Although it
Like this is a movie about a child raised in the house of evil who gains the powers of the devil to do her bidding.
Yeah, and she like feeds off of the negativity in order to use her powers.
Feed me. Yeah, totally.
they really did bring that whole telekinesis thing in really late.
Yeah, I kept waiting for it, and then I was like, okay, they're building up for it. No, still waiting.
It was an hour deep into the movie before that was ever a thing.
Yeah, it was kind of long.
That's a weird time to bring in kind of the point of the movie.
Seriously.
I don't know. Like thematically, the point is that she doesn't get along with her family and that she doesn't fit in. And she's smarter and better than them, and they're way different than her.
Right. And that would have been a good movie. And that was kind of what I thought the point of the movie was. And the movie could have completely finished out having never introduced telekinesis. Right? Mm-hmm. I thought that's what they
yeah,
were doing.
yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, this movie's about something different. You guys just kind of got bored and changed your mind about what this movie's about.
Because this woman was trying to kill the children.
And failing miserably. Like she did some scary things, and every time, like that cat landed fine.
Yeah,
You
I thought that was funny. She's like, "Oh, he's fine." And I was like, "How do you know?"
Yeah, like nobody
Internal
actually gets hurt.
bleeding. They kind of foreshadow it though, where they're like, they say that we only use so much of our brain, which is not true, by the way.
Oh yeah, that whole thing.
But I said that same thing, and then Brett's rebuttal was pretty great.
She's like, that's not true. And I was like, but it is said.
Right, yeah. It's true if you say they say that. People only use. Yeah. It's said a lot. I was thinking about that the other day. They say that the Eskimos have 50 words for snow. It's like, well, I don't know if that's true. I'd be interested.
Do the Eskimos say that?
Like the Inuits might have 5 words for snow, and then people exaggerated it over time, and people assume it.
Well, we probably have 5 words for
Yeah.
snow.
And we've got a lot of words for rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept expecting there to be a bit more of an extravagant ending because I couldn't remember the ending. And
The shotgun
That was
adoption.
one thing that I
yeah. I just like she basically did the same thing that she did to her in her house, which was just like freak her out and think that Magnus,
Yeah.
was coming to get her. And it just didn't feel like a climax for me. It just, felt like kind of a repeat of the scene that we had just seen.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's that all the other kids joined in.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I thought
the whole school got revenge.
Yeah, I just thought I remembered like a grander, more extravagant ending, but I guess not.
You had a smaller brain at the time.
I did, yeah. I guess that was really awesome.
You were only using 5% of your brain at that time.
Actually,
Yeah, I definitely remember the ending feeling a little pigeonholed, like a little weird. But I was kind of surprised with the beginning and like how right off the bat it's incredibly charming.
Yeah. Yeah, I expected a little of that in the end, but it didn't really deliver that.
I like to think that the producers of the hit show $1 Million Sticky later went on to produce the hit show Ow My Balls.
Yes.
What's that guy's name? I can never remember his
John
name.
Lovitz?
Oh yeah, John Lovitz.
John Lovitz, yeah.
Yeah.
He has the worst voice in the world. The worst
Clearly
one.
you are not familiar with Gilbert Gottfried.
Wait,
Oh.
you have a problem with
But
John Lovett's voice, but you wanted to watch Brave Little Toaster? You know he's in that, right?
Is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
he's-
that.
I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong?
Actually, Gilbert Godfrey most definitely has the worst voice in the world. And it's like, you think it's going to be really funny because he was the bird in Aladdin. And you're like, oh, this is going to be great. And then you go to listen to his podcast and you're like, what was I thinking?
So is it worse than the We Suck?
Oh no, take it back.
I don't know. One of them's
he
just
has a
annoying.
podcast.
And one of them's like going to give you a headache for sure. Yes, he has a podcast. I thought it would be fun to listen to once. And I got like 10 minutes in and I was like, I have a headache.
So he does that same.
here's
That's
the
his
podcast
voice,
game.
Nick. He's not putting on a
Well,
voice.
he doesn't have to yell all the time.
I think that's just his voice.
Okay.
Listen to the podcast.
We
He has like one level and it's screaming all the time.
You got to put some headphones on, and then we'll play a clip of the Gilbert Godfrey podcast, and then that scene from Dumb and Dumber of the most annoying sound in the world, and you have to try and tell which one is which.
I could tell which is which. They're both pretty rough.
because the screen froze, and you both just had your mouths like wide open. It's just like
Speaking of
guy's
another
working out
annoying
great.
voice, fucking Pee Wee Herman was in this movie. What?
He's really good. Yeah. I dig that guy.
Yeah.
Paul
Really
Rubens.
And didn't use an annoying voice at all, and we were shocked.
Well, we saw him in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He wasn't doing a crazy voice.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
I guess like that is such a dominant thing that you know him for that like it's easy to forget that he can be normal.
You mean that he's an actor?
Yeah.
Well, you
that-
apparently can't remember. Well, I guess you're saying Gilbert Godfrey's an actor, huh? And that he's acting that voice. Is that what
I
you're
don't
saying?
know. Look at Bobcat Goldthwait, who
He's-
did a voice for a long time and then stopped doing the voice.
Oh.
Like, it seems like that's not how Gilbert Gottfried talks to his family. Where's the peanut butter?
Happy Mother's Day!
Yeah, seems unlikely.
So you're just throwing shade on Gilbert Godfrey. Welcome to Godfrey Talk.
Dude, if he is one of our loyal listeners,
I just love their
Wilson,
podcast.
apologies.
It's a great little
I
show.
would gladly accept the 1-star review from Gilbert Godfrey.
But I was very happy to see Webigail from DuckTales in this movie.
What?
That little girl,
Yeah,
little
what?
girl with the pigtails was like
yeah.
a clone of Webigail from DuckTales.
That's true.
You remember a lot about
Yeah, it's really weird.
DuckTales, I mean, the movie wasn't good, but DuckTales in general is good.
Oh.
I don't know if it's much of a conversation point, but like again with every kid's movie having like a fat kid joke about eating too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, but this
It's the
one was
law.
kind of more empowering for him, right?
Sure.
But was it like
He
I guess
wasn't-
it was empowering for the character, but it was still a fat kid
So-
eats a whole cake thing.
But it wasn't really a
I feel like the joke, yeah, it would have landed if he was a skinny kid or fat. Like, no matter what kid was playing that role, the joke would have landed. So I feel like it's a little less mean-hearted.
Yeah, well, it was almost like a not a fat kid joke, except that they flipped it and made it empowering, and then it was this fat kid can eat a whole cake. Let's cheer him on.
No, I totally agree with
It
Sam.
was almost like a horror movie.
It didn't really have to do with him being fat, though.
Yeah, kind of
Any
did.
kid couldn't have eaten a whole cake.
I definitely
I mean-
was anticipating it to turn into a complete and total barforama. Like, it could easily have been intercut with that scene from Stand By Me.
Yeah. That was the scene. The cake scene is the one that sticks out in my memory from this movie. That's the one I totally remember.
Totally. It's surprisingly not the goofiest scene. Like I told you, there was a lot of goofy Roald Dahlness, and there was way more than I thought I remembered there being, which I quite liked.
But it still felt much more grounded than I expected compared to like James and the Giant Peach or Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
I feel like Willy Wonka's more grounded than this one.
Really?
I gotta side with Nick.
I don't know.
I
guess she does blow up into like a berry and stuff. I don't know.
Well, Willy Wonka feels like, even though it is based in the reality of like, this is a chocolate factory, it feels like they're in like another world, you know?
Yeah, it's much closer to Alice in Wonderland than this.
Yeah, as opposed to this just felt like everyday world. She just happens to be able to move stuff sometimes.
This definitely ended up...
Yeah.
It ended up being the movie I expected before I knew about Roald Dahl.
I think that what I like when I think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, all the real parts are really real and realistic and grounded, and then Matilda, like even the stuff that's supposed to be real is kind of exaggerated.
So
I just had this vision that all of Sam's grandparents sleep in the same bed.
All of what?
He does have you there.
All of your grandparents sleep in the same bed. Because that's like the real
Charlie
grounded parts of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You ever seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
It's been a really long
Maybe
time.
you should watch it
I don't
again because
remember
it's
that.
very serendipitous.
I wanted to make the counterpoint to Sam's thing. I think that this movie was pretty grounded because the first half, before all the psychic craziness happened, was pretty much a biography of my childhood.
Oh, God. That was your dad?
No.
So when I was young, I was left in the car. My mom was a bingo-holic.
Oh, God.
My dad, it wasn't my dad. It was all my mom. But instead of the used cars, she was a telemarketer and then a timeshare salesman.
Yes. You then became the timeshare salesman.
Can you move stuff with your mind?
Kind of.
That's
No, that's the only part.
That's interesting that you'd say that because I found a lot of similarities to my childhood too, and not the parent part, but the school part. Because I went to this daycare that was on campus at my first elementary school, and the lady who ran the daycare straight up looks like the principal in this movie. And was just as horrible as her, short of actually like doing physical harm to children.
Hammer throw.
But she would like yell and scream at us, and she would make us she would make me and my friend, because we were the two fat kids, she'd make us run laps because we were fat, and like tell us to run extra laps and like laps around the entire city block. So like not just like around the yard of the school, like unsupervised running around the entire city block. She like took us to a pool once, and I said I didn't know how to swim, and she threw me in the deep end of the water. Yeah. She was a horrible person. Yeah. And just like the kids in the movie that say like, what are you going to do? Tell your parents they won't believe you? I did the same thing. And all the kids did the same thing. We'd all tell our parents and they'd never believe us. Until one day, this one girl who was my friend, my fat friend, the teacher would take us, or not teacher, but daycare lady, would take us on field trips that, by the way, she wouldn't get permission from parents. She would just take us. And she had us walk on the train tracks on a train bridge because it was faster. And my friend broke her ankle falling through the train track bridge. And then she was yes, and then she was shut down.
Wow.
Like the Imola Street train track bridge?
Yes.
Before they closed that bridge
exact
down?
bridge.
That's not a walking place.
No.
Did you listen to the rails to see if there's a train coming?
I actually wasn't there when she broke her ankle, but it was the same thing for the longest time. I'd tell my parents and they wouldn't believe me. And then finally, like, I kept telling them and telling them and telling them. Eventually they like caught on and got really suspicious and started to figure out that like this horrible woman was running this daycare there and she shouldn't have been.
I don't believe you.
Okay,
Wow.
thanks.
Well, high five for being another person who learned to swim by being thrown into the pool until you stop drowning.
Oh, I did not learn at that moment
Just me.
anyway.
I was in a coma for 3 weeks.
I was traumatized.
But yeah, so this movie's super realistic anyway.
Yeah.
I like that Rhea Perlman in this movie is Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors plus 15 years.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Right?
She is. Once she's like gotten bored with it and she's like,
Yeah.
need someone to talk to. Did you guys notice that the house, the interior kind of looked like the Jumanji house?
I don't think it kind of looked like. I think it legitimately, was the same
was?
house.
Oh.
The
I mean,
inside?
I don't know if it's a set they built or they got that location, but it looked.
It
I
looked
think,
just
exactly
like the
same.
inside.
It also had the slave staircase.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Both that it's there and Sam's grandma's house has the slave stairs too, and both of them were just filled with junk. Is that what people do with a second staircase? Is just fill it with junk?
I don't know. I was like, we were watching it and I was like, is this just her staircase where she keeps her pots and pans? Why?
Yeah,
Because it
what's
was
up with
all
that?
pots and pans.
I mean, why do you need 2 staircases? It's old. It represents something kind of shitty. Like, just do what we do best in America. Put your junk in it and close the door and try to forget about it.
It connects your room to the kitchen. Is that not what everyone wants?
Yeah, that does sound pretty awesome.
Well, you pretty much are describing our house, except we don't
Yeah, like
have stairs.
Every house we've ever had.
I'm looking to see if there's any
If it
trivia that
was-
says it was the same house.
I really enjoyed the like sweeping camera moves in this film that really like accentuated. I know it's a little cartoony, but I think it accentuates the perspective of a child. And there's a lot of really good like jib arm shots where we're like starting really low and sweeping up really high, or the shot that they did over and over again. The shot that they kept doing a lot was these like extreme push-ins, not pans, but extreme push-ins where the camera is it's dollying in because it's such a crazy push-in, but it like starts wide and we go into like a close-up. There's a lot of those, like especially when the principal was like upstairs looking for them, and she'd like sniff them, smell them or something like a fucking
Yeah, that was
rodent she
creepy.
is. Yeah. There was a scene where she like had her face pushed against the glass and like she breathed on it, and Bryce was sitting next to me and he was like, was that an homage to Jurassic Park?
I was like, that looks so familiar.
It's like the
So
same
those-
shot.
Those shots are. That's what I was talking about in the first half. Is like that's what Danny DeVito does with the camera. It's like he likes doing crazy shots and like really intense, like close up face perspective. And
Yeah.
if you like, you think about. There's a couple of shots I can think of from like Death to Smoochie that were like that. And
Yeah, and there's
I
like
think
a lot
that's just
of
his style.
Yeah, there's a lot of like wide angle close-ups, which is
Yeah.
gives it that sort of whimsical feeling.
Which makes me really want to see Hoffa. I've never seen that.
I've never even
But-
heard of it until you mentioned it today. So
I'd be interested to see if he does that sort of camera work in a serious movie.
I mean, I
Is this
doubt
the-
it.
What's that movie? I've never heard of that one.
It's just a story about Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know if that was
Who
like
dat?
he's famously in an oil drum.
What?
He was like a
Yeah.
mobster sort of guy, and he's famous because he just disappeared one day and nobody knows what happened to him, but obviously the mob had him disposed of.
Oh.
But clearly there must be more to the story because they made a whole movie about him.
You said mobster. I heard monster.
Oh, yeah, the monsters took care of him.
I was like,
No,
really?
It was the Monstars. Yeah.
Space
And
Jam. Gotcha.
Brett said oil drum, and I was like, is he like an escape artist or something?
I know, at first I thought it was like-
an oil drum.
Like Niagara Falls, like you
Yeah.
were in a barrel.
Totally.
We're clearly up on
well-
our Jimmy Hoffa information.
More Breaking Bad than that.
Oh, God. So, yeah, it does make me curious to see more DeVito movies. I really want to see Throw Mama from the Train because I remember that being really good but really weird.
That one was on
I don't
TV
know.
a lot.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of this one either.
Oh, it's so good. It's Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito. And I can't remember. Billy Crystal has a problem with somebody, but DeVito has a problem with his mom. So DeVito's like, I'll kill your wife if you kill my mom. And Billy Crystal's like, no, we're not making that deal. But DeVito follows through with it anyway.
Oh, God.
It's really, I remember it being really fun.
Like a super fucked up strangers on a train.
Did he direct that as well? or-
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like Danny DeVito just likes making movies where everyone sucks.
Well, it is interesting that he always makes movies with himself. Like
Yeah.
he's always in the movie.
Oh, that was one thing I wanted to comment on this movie was
Yes,
It-
I'm wondering if you're going to say the same thing I'm thinking.
it bothers me that he's the narrator.
Yes.
It,
Yes.
I remember that as a kid, and I was like, why is the villain telling us the story?
Right.
Yeah. And he's clearly not. Like clearly the narrator and her dad are two different people.
Right?
But
Yeah.
like he made the creative decision to do the voiceover for some reason. I don't know if he was trying to shoehorn himself in the movie more.
I wonder if it
But-
was a you fall in love with the temp music situation.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I want to believe that it actually is the father character later retelling the story for profit.
Oh, well, I thought you'd say something nice.
No, I think
I know, you came so close. Retelling the story after he had a change of heart and decided to sell it for profit.
no, it's him. It's the same character years later telling the story to Dennis and Sweet D.
Yes.
Let me tell you about your worthless sister,
That sounded like
Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah. Yeah, I can't switch.
can't get out of it now.
It's me, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that kind of breaks it a little bit for me. Also, like I remember this movie being so much more like fantastical. And I just can't get over how, for lack of a better word, like average it was.
That's what I'm saying. It ended up being the movie I expected
Yeah.
before Roald Dahl was part of the equation.
The thing is like, yeah, as a kid, I feel like I remember Matilda's superpowers being the fantastic part, but this movie was mostly just fantastic in its villainy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Matilda was not like she could have just not been in the movie. It would have been as good a movie as it was.
Yeah.
Like it was all about Danny DeVito and their shit family and
Yeah.
the terrible principal.
And that mom character was just hilarious and like incredibly fun to watch, and like it
It was
really
an
was.
entire movie about Harry Potter's
Oh my God.
adopted parents.
Yes.
Right?
The Dursleys.
There-
It was
there's
the
a-
American Dursleys.
There's adopted parents, right? They're not his real parents.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And they did
Of course, his real parents are dead.
Yeah.
Dead, Harry.
they did a Neo stops the bullet 2 years before The Matrix came out.
Oh
Wait,
yeah, Brett was.
When
really
was that?
excited about
Oh,
The
yeah.
carrot?
Phallic carrot in the mouth shot.
carrot.
Fucking Wachowskis stole that from Matilda.
Well, as we know now, they steal a lot of stuff.
Wow.
No?
We do need to
Do we
watch The
not know
Matrix.
now? Okay.
I think we're about to untap some anger here. I didn't realize.
oh,
Yeah, I'm not in on this one.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think it was
Oh, that there's some movie that
that they completely stole.
when the Matrix,
the 13th floor.
took a lot of
It's
ideas.
just like the concept.
No. I'm not even talking about that. I know that has the same concept. No, there was a woman that sued them and won because
Oh,
she
shit,
wrote
what?
she wrote, you can look it up. I can't remember I don't want to say that it was The Matrix, but maybe it was. But there was some film that like this lady full on like wrote the screenplay for it, and then they picked it up and just like rewrote it kind of and made the film and didn't pay her or give her any credit, but it was totally her
Holy
movie.
shit. That's
Yeah.
crazy because those lawsuits are so hard to win.
Yeah, it took her like years and years.
It was
and
the
years.
Matrix, huh? Wow.
Well, yeah.
Are you
so-
finding information on it, Brett?
Yeah. They just stole the Matrix, apparently.
Yep.
Weird.
Yeah. And it was like the film that made them, but apparently, they just stole. And I guess it's, from what I read, like, it's debatable that necessarily that they as individuals stole it, and maybe it was more like the studio stole it, but like, they're credited with this movie that isn't really their
There was a-
intellectual property.
There's a similar story about Gravity, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
We're really coming at this with like hearsay and
I know.
shaky
Okay, so
anecdotes.
I don't want to read too much of this article, but even though it says she won the thing, it sounds so weird and flimsy because she alleges that the idea of both the Matrix and the Terminator were stolen from her own single screenplay.
Huh.
So
okay.
one screenplay had all of the Matrix and the Terminator in it.
Yeah.
So, but
That
she
sounds
was
like
able
something
to
that
prove it.
Stephen Moffat would write.
So those cases are incredibly hard to prove because of coincidence. So there probably was pretty strong evidence that they literally had her screenplays in hand.
That is what happened.
No,
Okay.
yeah, they did.
Yeah.
She like
So-
submitted it to the same studio, and
Warner
they
Brothers.
the Warner Brothers turned her down, and then like several years later they made the film, and she was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I think that's
Yep.
similar to the Gravity story.
Oh, interesting. But I would assume that sort of thing probably happens a lot,
Yeah.
probably more than we know.
Yeah.
But you're right. He shouldn't have been the narrator.
Oh yeah. It would have been better. Wouldn't it have been so much better if it was Miss Honey who was the narrator?
Or Sam Elliott. I mean, come on.
Sam Elliott?
The cowboy guy from Big Lebowski.
Oh.
He should just be the narrator in everything.
Yeah, right?
Or
But
if Miss Honey had the psychic powers because her life was obviously way worse than Matilda's.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And why is she like working? I don't know. That her whole character is like kind of flimsy in general.
She's got like Stockholm syndrome for her aunt.
She really does.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see more story about like these boat salesmen chasing Danny
Yeah.
DeVito down.
Yeah.
No, you make a good point. Like, Matilda asks Miss Honey, why don't you leave?
Yeah,
The question should have been, why the hell are you here to begin with?
I know. Why have
Yeah.
you not left? And it also didn't make much sense. Like, she's like, when I left the house, I had to leave my treasures. And it's like, why? Clearly she doesn't want them.
Why?
I don't understand why you couldn't take your things.
I mean, we don't exactly know the circumstance in which she left.
Well,
All right, you guys might be trying a little too hard to apply logic to this.
I guess. Yeah.
she's running from a murderer.
Yeah. Somebody who has physically abused her in the past.
Is she, Bret? Is she? Because she's working with her every single day. That doesn't sound like running to me.
This is true.
In fact, again, I know I'm quoting Bryce again, who's not on the podcast anymore, but Bryce was like, Matilda, a movie about child abuse, but it's kind of happy. Like, that's basically this film. Like, every level of child abuse that you could think of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that's
I mean-
the movie.
I'll grant you that I only watched maybe one episode, but kind of seems like a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing about child abuse, yes.
Yeah. Let's put a smile on it. But they always start with like, these children live in a really awesome home and have lots of money and have everything they need, but their parents are kind of dicks
Yeah.
/ dead.
Well, like that's what we get nowadays. Is what were we talking, S&P or whatever? Like you can't have a movie where there's real like child abuse going on anymore. But this is
Not like the good old days.
in the time just before when it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody got hurt. People tried to hurt the kids and failed. That's all that happened in this movie. It's like the principal tried to be really mean to one kid and actually just gave him a delicious cake. I mean, they're just really bad at being mean.
I would kind of like you to do the whole cake test here.
The cake
I
test?
think that's
Well,
sit
as
down with a cake that big and try to eat it
How
all.
much cake can you eat before it changes from delicious to nightmare?
Yeah,
Are you
Bret
telling
has
me?
say about 2 slices.
Well, for the answer to that question, refer to the hit motion picture 7.
I've never seen it.
I've
Do-
seen 7, but
You
I'm
remember
confused.
one of the murders was he forced the guy to eat and eat until he just busted open?
Oh, gluttony.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Ugh.
as you
Watch that on
remember,
the
Bret,
podcast.
you pointed out that Nick could not possibly eat the whole cake because he is not a fat man.
Yeah, that's true. Nick, you couldn't do it.
You're saying that a fat kid could eat that entire cake?
That's what Bret
Yes,
said.
a fat child could eat more cake than you, an adult man.
All right, let's set up this challenge.
Yes.
I could eat more than a
Who
fat
was a
kid.
fat cousin?
No, take this back.
I really just want to see you guys approach a parent to ask
No.
to use their fat kid for one of our videos
No,
and see
Casting
how that
call,
goes.
obese
You
child.
have no idea how often that thought goes through my mind where I'm like, who do I know with a baby I can use?
God.
Oh no.
I
You're like
have-
freaking Rumpelstiltskin.
I really
Like,
am.
I'll take your firstborn.
I have yet to actually like ask anybody, but I have a running list of people I know with babies in my head that I just know if you're a friend of mine and you have a baby, I might ask
hold that
you
baby
something.
close.
For
I have a really funny sketch I want to do.
Is this a train spotting sketch?
Is it just a sketch where people try to hand you a baby for 5 minutes? Because that would be
Oh.
hilarious. I'd watch it.
that would be so funny.
It is not, but College Humor has done that.
Oh, okay.
And it's really great.
All right, so what did we think of Matilda all in all? I'll throw mine out there. It was okay. It wasn't a good movie nor a bad movie. I think that it could be enjoyable for children, but it was very average and vanilla from where I sat. But it does make me curious to see more of DeVito's movies, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
Need more of those DeVites.
What did you think, Sam? Did it work?
I actually like this a lot more than I remember. I don't know if it's just
Wow.
because I remember it being less fun, but thought it was kind of really charming, and I really liked the storytelling, and I liked everything from the point of view of the kids, and it was silly and fun. One thing I do agree with is the ending is pretty crappy, but I'll allow it.
Now, Ash, you were totally on board with this before we started.
I was.
Where do you lie now?
I'm kind of lukewarm on it now. I remember really loving it as a kid, and I think kids would still today really like this film because I think as a kid, you know, the movie speaks so much to what being a kid is like. You know, adults won't listen to you, and doesn't every kid wish that they could like move stuff with their mind like a Jedi? And, you know, like, doesn't every kid wish that they could like throw food at their teacher that they hate? And there's a lot of stuff here that I think,
Childhood wish fulfillment.
yeah, I think kids would really like.
Yeah.
I still like how, I really like how it's shot. And I looked up the cinematographer, and it's actually the same cinematographer that shot Edward Scissorhands, which was interesting. But I really like what he did and what Danny DeVito did. I think that's really charming. I I think nowadays, I guess my expectation is just a little bit higher for a little bit more fantasticalist. Maybe I wouldn't have had that expectation had you not brought up Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Nick, because I didn't realize it was like the same author. But I kind of...
Damn it, Nick.
Blame Nick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was okay. I enjoyed it. I think it's really well done. And I enjoyed the perspective of the child. It's kind of like that 90s film thing where like the kid is actually way smarter than everyone else. And I like that.
Goodwill Hunting.
So Robin Williams, or what's his name? Matt Damon, they stole the idea from this film. I'm just kidding.
There was something like they didn't steal it, but like William Goldman actually wrote it. And they took the credit. There was something like that.
I've always wondered, because I was like, if they wrote a masterpiece like that, what the fuck are they doing nowadays with their life? Like, seriously?
Batman.
Come on. Batman? Yeah, come on.
Well, Ben Affleck directed an Oscar-winning film.
Yeah, Ben
That's
Affleck
true.
is a really good director.
But we're talking about writing.
Fair enough.
I mean, they're
Yeah, has Matt Damon written anything since then? All right, Brett, what do you think?
This movie was slightly worse than I was hoping it would be.
What?
Mostly because I thought I was really gonna like it, and I ended up on the slightly didn't like it side of that spectrum. And I think it was mostly because Matilda Mara Willson, right?
Right.
Not a good actor in this. Not a good actress.
Yeah.
She kind of did a really shitty job. They needed a better child actor.
Wow. I thought she was good.
I actually kind of...
That seems
I
like
agree.
extra rude when you call an 8-year-old a shitty actor.
But we're so spoiled now. We have like so many amazing child actors.
Her acting got a lot better once she started being like the psychic kid, but it was very kind of just I'm reading a line that's taped to Danny DeVito's chest in the first half of the movie.
I thought she was good. What was weird is in the beginning they had that younger version of her.
Oh,
and I thought, is that the same actor? Are they boyhooding this? But then it actually was a different actor.
But yeah, so it was all right. It was
are you sure you're not?
This is definitely
thinking of
a
the
kids
younger
movie.
one? Are you thinking of the first actress? Maybe.
No, definitely.
No, definitely the main one. It was just there was a point at which like noticeably she got better in the movie, and there was a half of a movie where it wasn't good. But other than that, yeah, it was definitely a kids movie. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get as much out of it as I thought I was going to.
Fair enough.
She's no Dakota Fanning.
So that's it for this episode of Let's Rewatch.
Yeah, if you like this show, it's part of the Last Dash TV network of content. It's this podcast and a YouTube channel, Last Dash TV on YouTube, where we have what do I usually say? We have video game parodies and a cooking show and a drinking show and eventually more content.
Yay! Yes, we have all that, and you can follow us on Twitter. We're at LaughsTV on Twitter, and then you can follow this podcast. We're at Let's Rewatch on Twitter, and follow us so that you can vote and choose which movie we watch sometimes, as Nick will keep me in check.
And follow me at Bret Eagles so you can know when I'm trying to rig the vote.
And follow me at Ash's Stash so you know when I can stop Bret from rigging the vote and we can counteract.
Or you can campaign of your own.
Yeah.
And we're allowed to choose our own movies sometimes.
Sometimes. Nick has ultimate veto power is what he's saying.
He does. He's the president of
Nick has DeVito.
Oh.
Nice.
Can we call it that from now on?
Yes. And if you liked our podcast or hated it, please give us a review on iTunes, Google Play Music, or other things where we are.
VR.
VR?
We are where we are.
Podcasting in VR.
It's a virtual reality podcast.
We'll get right on it.
And make sure your subscriptions are up to date and join us again in another 2 weeks for another episode of Let's Rewatch.
Yeah, next time we're going to watch The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
I got nothing. I just really want to watch The Man with Two Brains. It's so good.
But he'd only use 5% of it.
Well, 10%. There's two of them.